Today's video is going to show you how to make a pinch pot. The first thing you want to notice is what are the materials we need. So you're going to want this protective layer. It's like a vinyl strip, if you feel it. It's a material called vinyl. It's going to help to make it so that your clay does not stick to the table. You'll need some water and you're going to need some clay. So I'll make sure that everyone is going to get their own clay. And now when you start to work with clay, you just kind of want to warm it up and see what it feels like in your hands. And the first shape we want to think about is how to make a sphere or a ball. So it's really the same kind of thing you would do if you were making a snowball. You're going to mush it together with your hands the best you can and just get the overall shape of a ball or a sphere. Now, we need to make an opening for our pinch pot. So what you do is you make a thumbs up with your hand, and you're going to poke the thumb right down in, but you don't want to go all the way through. So you don't want to actually feel the table. That would mean you had gone too far. So that's about right, like that. But now, in order to make it an actual pot, we're going to pinch the sides. That's why it's called a pinch pot. So here's how it would work. I'm going to use my other hand that I don't draw with, kind of like for support. I'm just going to be pinching and turning. So it's just a matter of pinching and turning. Pinch, turn, and you keep pinching and you keep turning until the walls have thinned out. So keep pinching and I keep turning. And I'm just going to keep on doing this. So I've gotten it to a point where I've pinched and turned. It's a pretty good size cup now. And there's a few more things you want to think about. I want to smooth this out. So this is where I'm going to need my water. Just a little fingertip worth of water. And smooth out any cracking that has happened or any imperfections. So if you see any sharp edges or anything like that, we want it to be smooth. So you're just going to go around on the top, on the sides, if you find anything like that. And you will notice water goes a long way, so you don't need a lot of it. So I'm going to keep smoothing these out. It's at a point now where you can actually put your name on the bottom. So you flip it over, right? And I'm just going to very lightly with my carving tool write my name. For you, please make sure you write your first and last name so I can get it back to the right person. Make sure it's big enough so I can see it. And now it's just a waiting game. We have to wait until next week and it would dry off, and then when it's dry, it's actually going to be able to get glazed or a special paint. So I'm going to let that dry off. One of the things you'll notice when it dries off is that it shrinks and it changes color. All the water has left it and is evaporated, and now it's at a bone dry state. So now it's ready to be glazed. So here's what you need for glazing materials. We no longer need water, and we no longer need our carving tool. You'll need a palette. Palettes are located up near the sinks, and you're going to need a paintbrush, and then you're going to need a glaze. So for me, I'm just going to use green. I want to make the entire thing green. You can make yours whatever color you want. So I'm going to put one whole palette full of glaze, and that should allow me to fill the entire thing. You can use more than one color. You don't have to do one color like I'm doing. Okay, so now it's time to glaze. And this is one of those times where I will say really glob it on there. It's okay. There's only one rule with glazing, and that is you may not glaze the bottom. What happens is when the glaze gets fired, it gets put in the machine called the kiln. It gets really, really hot. And there's a time where it's actually more like a super glue. So if you put glaze in the bottom, your work of art will glaze itself to the kiln and it actually gets stuck, and I have to hammer it away with like a chisel and a hammer. And it's really sad because I have to break your work to save my kiln. So I'm going right around, I'm really globbing it on there. You're going to notice that glaze dries really, really fast, so it's going to seem like it's just being absorbed right into the clay, and it's just drying. So notice the color that it actually dries. It's actually a lot lighter than you think, and the inside's almost dry. If you got to this point, this would be where you'd be ready to get it fired again. And next time you see it, it would be a shiny work of art instead of this like dry, dull situation. Notice I didn't put anything on the bottom, so next time we see it, it'll be fired and shiny. So now it's in its final stages. It has been fired, it's shiny, and notice what happened to that green. It really got a lot brighter, a lot shinier, really stands out a lot more. So just because you think it looks like one color doesn't mean that's what it'll look like once it gets fired. And it's got this nice smooth feel to it. And that is your finished pinch pot.